next speaker, Stavros Kalantaridis, is an international relations expert. He's also a communication specialist, and he's going to address the topic of Turkey's denial of the genocide.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for the honor of having me. I am a descendant of my family actually is a descendant of the victims of this genocide. So it is my duty to speak to you as frankly as I can about what happened in this tragic era of our history. My family comes from an area in the eastern part of modern-day Turkey, from the city of Nicopolis, and also from the city of Argyroupolis, which they had to go through the heinous process of the death marches, where they had to walk for 550 kilometers, 350 miles, to the Taurus Mountains, where they had to work in the forced labor camps, where many perished from starvation, thirst, malnutrition, suffering, and outright torture. And I'm a descendant of those few that survived. So my cause here is double, because I'm also a political scientist. I'm sworn to promote peace and security for the people of the Eastern Mediterranean, our troubled neighborhood. And to this regard, I have a double duty to present what happened in this tragic era. So regarding the my speech is about the memory of states. The states, as you may know, they have, as living organisms, they have their own memory. They have their own subconscious memory, which defines the society, the political system, the parties, and the government itself. So the memory of the state is what I'm going to be talking about, because we will see how a state with a guilt, which has a history based on guilt and crimes, cannot move forward. Modern-day Turkey cannot heal itself by not accepting its past and its crimes, and cannot move forward. So that's why they're carrying on this memory today, and we're seeing nowadays the authoritative government of Erdogan creating regional and also global problems regarding the international relations. So to start, just a quick summary of the crimes that have been committed in this area from Turkey, beginning in 1914 in Eastern Thrace, Armenia, 1915, this is something that you're well aware of. Asia Minor and Pontus is what we're discussing about today, and this is a process, a genocidal process that began in 1914 and didn't stop until 1999. Moving on, the Great Fire of Smyrna in 1922. The 1942, the Constantinople wealth tax, which I will be speaking more about that later. This is a really important point. The Constantinople pogrom in 1955, where the Turkish government created a propaganda leaking into the press that the Greeks have been targeting the historic building, the historic site of Mustafa Kemal's birthplace in Thessaloniki. The Turkish government leaked that the Greeks have assaulted that building. The Greeks did not do such thing, but that actually led to the assaults in the Constantinople Greeks from the Turks in the city. So it was an orchestrated pogrom that it was instigated by the Turkish government. Also, in the 1964 the deportations of 60,000 Greeks. 60,000 Greeks had to leave their homes from Constantinople in 1964 because of the Turkish government policies in the area. With no provocation none whatsoever, the Turkish government continued its genocidal policies toward Christian minorities, specifically Greeks, and they deported 6,000 people in 1 year only. Moving on, Cyprus, 1974, the illegal invasion occupation to this very day. The settlements that we're seeing in the northern part of the island. So the Turkish government is really continuing its work beginning since 1914 to this very day. As we can see it happening in Cyprus, this is an ongoing assault to the Christian minorities, the Christian people in the island that had to become refugees in their own island. So they had to leave the northern part of Cyprus to the southern part, and this occupation and settlements is ongoing to this very day. And the second act of this genocidal policy, because this is something that Turkey cannot move forward until it acknowledges and accepts, apologizes, and do the proper necessary moves towards the victims, to acknowledge and do the reparations regarding what happened. So this is ongoing, and we can see that ongoing also in Syria, in Afrin, which is a city in Syria. This city had 75% Kurdish population, and after the Turks invaded and took over the city, now we see the city having only 15% of Kurdish population, which is a clear example of ethnic engineering, and this is ongoing. It has not stopped since 1919 up to this very day in Cyprus and Afrin. You can see that in Greeks in Cyprus and in the Syrian Kurds as well. So this is the memory of this state. This is how it has been unfolding. You can see it in how it moves through the ages. It's not changing, and it's not changing because the country, its memory cannot move forward. That's why we're talking about these things today. That's why it's important to mention some historical facts as well. So moving forward, I would like to talk about three different incidents in history that they're not as known as they should be. So this right here is Nurettin Pasha, and he's being photographed with Mustafa Kemal, as you can see by yourselves. And this person, he was appointed leader by the Turkish parliament of the Central Army. That's how they call it in Amasya, Turkey. So this person, he was appointed by the parliament, not by Mustafa Kemal. So they were the ones responsible for him. When he began his own massacres against the population of Amasya, the Greek Pontians of Amasya, the Turkish parliament, because they were afraid that they would have to face some international persecution themselves, they tried to recall him. They also tried to put him into a court-martial because of the crimes that he inflicted in the Greek community there. What happened after that is that Mustafa Kemal took over. He stopped his own parliament from going after this Nurettin Pasha. He saved him from the court-martial and the persecution that was going to happen. Not only that, he rewarded him. He rewarded him by appointing him governor of Amasya. No, excuse me, governor of Smyrna. So he concluded his crimes in Amasya, and his reward was a position of governor in Smyrna. Not only that, as we move forward, he was the one that gave the order about the Great Fire. He was the one that gave the order for the lynching of the Chrysostomos bishop of Smyrna. This person was the one that was rewarded by the official state of Turkey after committing his crimes to continue with the Great Fire of Smyrna, the catastrophe of Smyrna, and the lynching of the Greek Orthodox bishop Chrysostomos of Smyrna. So moving forward, I mentioned in 1942 the wealth tax. This is extremely important how it relates to what happened in the genocide era. So in 1942, the Turkish government initiated a wealth tax program. They targeted Christians in Constantinople, and they made them pay a tax that was as high as the actual property tax that they had in the city. So they had to repay their own properties. This was obviously something that not all of the members of the community could do. Some of them did. They took loans and they had to rebuy their own property because they wanted to evict them from the city. But most of them did not. Do you know what happened to those that they didn't have the money to rebuy their own property? Ameleta buru. The varlik vargesi, which is the wealth tax, led to a policy that came back to us from the genocide era. So you can see the links from 1914 to 1942. More than 30 years later, the Turkish government created a new forced labor camp just for the people that didn't have, Christian people, Greek people that didn't have the opportunity to pay back their own homes. So you can see that the policies are repeating themselves because the country is not moving forward. Since they don't have the recognition of their crimes, they keep repeating the same tortures to the Christian minorities, specifically the Greeks in Constantinople, Asia Minor, and Pontus. So moving forward, another it's an incident that it's not really known to the public, and I'd like to point this out as well. In 1919, we had the Malta courts-martials. These trials are really important because after the first phase of the genocide, the Armenians, they managed through their allies in the West to push the Sultan and begin a courts-martial case for all the major war crime, the people responsible for the war crime. I wouldn't say generals because they were brutal killers. So these people like Talat and Ver and Jalal, they had to face this courts-martial because of the crimes that they inflicted. The Armenians were behind this effort, and this whole trial had legitimacy by the Sultan. So these trials began. These people were being convicted, and they were about to face execution by hanging. But what happened is that Mustafa Kemal utilized the dissent of the people. The people reacted against this. The Turkish people reacted against these trials in their own grounds, in their own country. So what happened is that the British people took these 200 officials that they were being accused of genocide, and they transferred them to Malta to continue the court-martials trials there. So what happened is after that, Mustafa Kemal abducted 22 British people in Turkey. So 5 of them were British military personnel. So he abducted them to keep them as hostage and asked from the British to do a transfer exchange. He said that I'm accusing these British people for espionage. I'm going to try them for treason against the state if you don't give me back my genocidal officials, military officials. So he tried to blackmail and threaten Britain to get back the people that were responsible for the genocide. And yes, he actually succeeded. So the Brits, they gave them back the 200 people from Malta, and they received back their own people. But this reminds us, on the next slide, this case of the pastor, which is exactly what happened back then. So you can see, more than 80 years ago, the continuation of the Turkish policies, which is brutal government, a government who's trying to bully even their own allies, taking hostages, accusing them of treason, just to get their policies and being promoted in the West. So these common tactics is what we're witnessing today, and the roots of that, if you want to see why Turkey is behaving like that, is because of its criminal past, and the way to move forward and to stop seeing these tactics and behaviors in Turkey is to recognize the genocide. So moving forward, regarding these Turkish officials, I would just like to mention that for these people, we had this Article 230 in the Treaty of Sèvres, which was the one that never took into effect. The Lausanne Treaty came over, and so this was never into effect. But you can see from the language of the treaty, this treaty was signed by Britain and France. The Turkish government, Mustafa Kemal, his movement overthrew the government and got a new treaty, a better treaty. But you can see the text of the original treaty that was again signed by Britain and France. The Turkish government undertakes to hand over to the Allied powers the persons whose surrender may be required by the latter as being responsible for the massacres committed during the continuance of the state of war on territory which formed part of the Turkish Empire. And the next article that I need to show to you is Article 144. The Turkish government solemnly undertakes to facilitate to the greatest possible extent the return to their homes and reestablishment in their businesses of the Turkish subjects of non-Turkish race who have been forcibly driven from their homes by fear or massacre. So you can see that the Western powers back then recognized what we're trying to do right now today. Politics may change the stance of the major powers in historical issues, but the truth is out there, and it's our right and privilege and our duty to illustrate these international treaties. So, moving forward, from an international relations perspective, if you examine modern-day Turkey, you will see how this denial of the genocide can explain what we're dealing with right now, and this is something that is really important to the West as well, the US as well, because Turkey is a NATO member country. It is an allied country, but we have been seeing some behaviors that they're not friendly, they're not the behaviors of an ally, and we can explain those behaviors because of the denial for the genocide. So we are seeing a neo-Ottoman fundamentalism, which is a move backwards. Turkey has been making some heavy steps towards its illegal and guilty past, as you can understand yourselves. So what happened is that Mustafa Kemal tried to create a modern state, a cosmic state with links to the West. That was his purpose, that was his vision, that was his heritage, if you will. But since 2002, and the rise of Erdogan in the country, we have been seeing the alienation with the West from Turkey. We have been seeing a switch in their priorities towards the alliance and towards democracy as well. So we have been seeing an aggression towards Israel, which has been ongoing since 2011, 2012. It's an ongoing aggression towards a strategic alliance of the West, which is Israel. We have been witnessing the Turkish government be willing to give asylum to terrorist organizations inside Turkey ground, such as the Muslim Brotherhood. They have been giving sanctioned asylum to terrorist organizations. And lately, we have been witnessing the S-400 deal between Turkey and Russia, which is also another point to make, that Turkey is again moving towards its neo-Ottoman fundamentalist past as it continues its genocidal policies in Cyprus and in Syria, Afrin, and that's why they have to turn its back to the West and to our values, to the Western civilization values and ideals. So, also, I would like to mention that we see that happening inside Turkey as well. This neo-Ottoman turn, we can see that in the schools in Turkey, which they have been promoting. The government's promoting the return to the Ottoman language, not the Turkish language. They have been pushing forward for an Orthodox Islam. They have been blasting the women's rights in the country. Women have been persecuted for no reason, just by explaining their own opinions. So this is another example. And also, lately they have been recalling Ottoman dynasty members, which have been exiled from the last genocidal Emperor Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. So they have been exiling these people, and now they have been returning them to the country, giving them full rights. And these are the people, again, that initiated the genocide as well. So you can see that they have been rewarding the Ottoman Sultan legacy with political rights and bringing them back to Turkey. And also, they have been building monuments, heroic monuments and statues to the leaders of this genocide effort, like Topal Osman, which also legitimizes the genocide and their crimes. So Turkey is turning towards its heinous and guilty past. It accepts it and tries to promote it as well, which is an affront to every free-thinking human being in the world. So a really important, let's go one slide back. A really important point to make is that by the words of the President of the Turkish Republic himself, Turkey is now a continuation of the Ottoman Republic. This is really important for our cause and for the recognition of the Christian minorities and the Pontian Greeks specific, because as the successor of the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish state has international juridical obligations, because the responsibility for crimes under international law falls upon the state that commits them as well as its successor. These have to do with the principles of continuation of state as well as the state responsibility. So by saying that the government of Turkey, the country of Turkey is a continuation of the Ottoman Empire, he's admitting his own guilt basically by saying that we have to accept and acknowledge the crimes that the previous regime had. These are the international relations principles of continuity. These principles are something that we should be pushing forward and making Turkey come into the table and accept and acknowledge the genocide. So, moving forward, I would like to show you some newspaper articles, but also some articles from some academic journals and think tanks as well. You can see that the Turkish government sees their Christian minority, even to this very day, as a threat to their nation. As explained before by other members of the panel, we have been seeing Turkey targeting Christian minorities as a threat to their nation's existence, and this is happening to this very day. This is really, really what's at the heart of the Turkish problem. Their intolerance is active and alive today. They are saying that these people are a threat to our stability. Their politicians accuse the Christian minorities that live inside the country even right now as Western collaborators, and they're calling them not real Turks. So you can see that this is a human rights issue, maybe more than anything else. One of the most important issues for us as well is the Hagia Sophia, which last year the president of Turkey threatened us that he will turn the Christian church into a mosque. So you have to understand that what's going on now in Turkey is a human rights issue. They're targeting women and Christian minorities, and specifically regarding Christian minorities, they have been targeting our churches and monasteries as well. There have been arsonists targeting the Christian churches and minorities. These arsonists may or may not have direct links with the government, but we don't examine that. We examine that a country needs to protect their own citizens. And instead of doing that, do you know what they're doing to the churches that are being burned to the ground? They're converting them into mosques. So that's their continued genocide up to this very day against our people, our belief systems, our ideals, and whatever, and all that we're representing and stand for. Again, this is also happening, as we said, in occupied Cyprus as well. In the illegally occupied territory, which the UN has condemned Turkey regarding this illegal occupation, the continuation of this heinous crime of occupation, they have been, again, burning down churches and converting them into mosques. So the genocide is still going on, and we can see that in Cyprus as well. Another interesting issue is that the Turkish government refuses to open up their archives regarding what happened in the Ottoman era. So we are calling the Turkish government to open up the archives, the historical archives, so we can examine what happened, but they refuse obviously because they are not ready yet to acknowledge and accept their crimes and the genocide that they inflicted in their minorities. Moving forward, you can see this is the Early Warning Project is a project by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and this is an effort to try and monitor countries that they're high-risk danger of inflicting massacres, mass massacres to their own citizens. You can see in the next slide that Turkey ranks high up the top in position number 8 amidst countries, as you can see, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Congo, etc. So people in the West have been monitoring them, and they're seeing that this is an ongoing threat. Turkey will not change its policies and brutal tactics if they do not accept their own mistakes and their own history. They cannot, if they do not accept who they are as a aggressive and brutal state, which is intolerant and actually inflicts pain and murder to their own citizens. They cannot stop doing that even to this very day. That's why it's ranking up top on all the list, as we can see in the next slide as well. This is Freedom House and a New York City-based NGO group. This is how much free the country is today because of exactly its guilty past. So moving on again, we can see this is really, really important. This is a Foreign Office report, a preliminary report. This was back in May. We had the preliminary report from Jeremy Hunt. The Foreign Office said basically that it's been an ongoing persecution of Christians coming close to genocide in the Middle East. And you can see that The Guardian, this is from The Guardian, chose Tayyip Erdogan for its cover, because I will read what the Jeremy Hunt report has to say. It says that the Turkish government sees the Christians as a national threat. That's what the British report, the Foreign Office British report had to say regarding Turkey's view on their own citizens. And again, the report says that the government sees Christian minorities as not real Turks. So obviously we're monitoring this situation. Obviously we understand why this is going on. And in the US we have seen that happening also as well. This was obviously back in 2017 when the Turkish president came here. And it's really important because his security team, look what they did to peaceful demonstrators in Washington, in this country. These were peaceful demonstrators who were saying one thing: stop the genocide in Afrin. And this, what Erdogan did to these people that told them to stop the genocide. That's denial right there. You can see denial, you can see guilt. We need to stop that everywhere, not only in the US, everywhere. It's our duty. And not only that, yesterday was the National Day for us in Greece, and it's a global day to remember the victims of the Greek Pontian Genocide. And we have chosen this day because that was the day. One slide before. This was the day that Mustafa Kemal arrived in Amissos, Samsun, and began the second stage of the massacres and the genocide. And this was the day that the Turkish government decided to have this kind of an event in Amissos, in that city. You can see the flags, the Turkish flags. This is a 1.5 mile long people's flag, people red flag, which reminds, to me, it seems like the Red River of blood that covered the city of Amissos, which is a disgrace. This is an affront. This is an assault to our memory, to the memory of the victims, and they did that in purpose, and they did that to deny as openly as they can their own crimes and the genocide they committed. So another preposterous argument that this genocidal policy, if we do not stop it right here, right now, will continue on, is what the Turkish president said on April, because that's the day that we celebrate, we remember the Armenian genocide. He said that there would not be millions of Armenians living around the world today if the genocide cases were true, this is preposterous. This is not fun. This is preposterous. Can you imagine a German chancellor saying that there's no Holocaust because there are so many Jewish people around the world? This is the exact same thing. These people, they're government officials. They're not crazy. They know exactly what they're doing. They're denials. They're basically promoting modern day killing in Afrin and Cyprus, and that's where they're basing their facts. That's their truth. This is preposterous. So on the other side of the story, I would like to do a quick comparison to what happened in Germany, because this is a really important issue to examine a country that actually accepted the crimes that were committed by the Nazi regime, and how that turned out for the country to this day. So we're seeing in this picture, in 1970, the then Chancellor Willy Brandt visited Warsaw. So he visited the Ghetto Memorial. The Ghetto Memorial was the place, the ghetto, where the Jews were being forced to live there, and they slowly they were taking them to their camps from there. So the Jewish people, they realized that they were all of them they were leaving, but they were being led to the camps and they were being killed. So they did an uprising. So in that place of the uprising, they built a monument. So Willy Brandt came to the monument and he kneeled to that monument. Nobody knew what he was going to say, nobody knew what he was going to do, but that's what he did. He accepted everything. He accepted everything and he kneeled in that monument, accepting the genocide and trying to heal his own nation first. So the same thing happened, one slide, the same thing happened when the German president came in Kalavrita, where the Nazis killed Greeks, and there's a museum there as well. So the German president came there and also expressed a sincere apology and tried to heal the wounds between our two nations, inviting students from Kalavrita to Germany and vice versa, and expressing his deep sorrow and regret for what happened in the Nazi era. This is a country that it's accepting its own past and now is a leading country in Europe and in the West as well. So what happened is that after the Nuremberg trials and the extreme political pressure applied to Germany after World War II, Germany provided ample proof of its remorse, regret, guilt, and repentance. This substantial acceptance and the reparations that were being made to the victims led to the complete reformation of the German state after World War II. The German state had a structure, values and belief systems that were linked with democracy in the West. We saw a reformation of its decision-making processes, a separation of balance, a separation and a balance of powers which is non-existent in Turkey. And we also saw that the political system became more open, more democratic, and that's when the memory of the state changed as well. That's when society changed as well. By changing your political system, your forms of government, by accepting your past, you can change the memory of your state, the society as well, and move forward as a nation in a peaceful coexistence with your fellow countries. So again, we have to say that there are many countries that have recognized mistakes committed by prior governments in the past and have issued formal apologies to the victims and their survivors, including Germany, Austria, Canada, and more recently Australia. On February 2008, Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd issued an apology to Aboriginal Australians. So this is pretty recent. This is the modern response in international relations towards genocide and the massacres of the past and how to move forward. Just some quick notes on the Nuremberg trials. In 1946, you see Mr. Goering here, the right hand of Adolf Hitler. So these trials happened 2 years before the Geneva Convention for the recognition of genocide. Raphael Lemkin indeed coined the term genocide. Some people think that this word has to do with two words, one Greek and one Latin. Geno means yenos, which is Laos people, and kaedo, which means to kill in Latin. That's not correct. It's from two Greek words. Indeed, Geno, which means people, and ktino, which means to kill. So the Latin word comes from the Greek word. So it's a Greek word that we're fighting for here. It's a complete Greek word. So this, moving forward, this convention in 1948 took place, and this is extremely important to us that we're studying international law, because what happened here is unique in human history. 2 years after the trials, retroactively, the UN General Assembly unanimously accepted the term and said that what happened in the Holocaust was a genocide. So this is the first time in human history that there is a retroactive effect application of international law to a crime. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so a heinous crime. Genocide. It is a heinous crime. So what happened in Geneva is the Geneva Convention was declaratory of a pre-existing crime. It merely codified an already binding international law crime. So it was both retrospective, but also it was future-oriented as well. This is unique in international law history, and that's why this recognition is really, really important to us, and even today. So this is a current issue. We can never forget about genocide. The Geneva Convention made sure about that it can move towards the past or towards the future. This is something that we can never forget. It never goes away. So, my final remarks. We have many countries in the world, I have mentioned some in my speech and here in this slide, and also many US states that they haven't recognized the genocide. It's really important to know, to understand that some temporary political alliances stop nations of doing the right thing. So political leaders most of the time think on the short term. We as a people, we as an organization, as a civil rights organization, Panagia Soumela as an organization, with the support of the members of the Senate, Massachusetts Senate, and the House of Representatives, we need to push this issue because we, the local government and the people, we can think on the long term. And the long term is where peace and stability is. So short-term alliances can stop some countries of recognizing the genocide and putting pressure on Turkey to recognize it. But we as a people have a moral obligation to see the long-term picture and push things forward. And I'm really, really glad and honored to be here with you today, as this is the first symposium to this end. So, 100 years later, the human civilization and the civilized humanity needs to call on all the great political forces of the world to recognize the genocide of the 353,000 Pontian Greeks, and then sequentially to put international pressure on Turkey as well to recognize the genocide internally and accept its criminal past. Only then can we begin to hope that the Turkish state will cease and stop reproducing genocidal policies as we see them happening today in Syria and of course in the interior of Turkey and in Cyprus. Only then can we talk about real and meaningful, peaceful coexistence of the people and the states in this troubled area of the world. Only by advocating for the international Turkish recognition of the Pontian genocide, we promote peace and a safe future for all. Thank you.